A very good morning to one and all. I'm Zed Merchant, and I'm going to present on the topic Religion is to Dogmatism, what education is to liberation. Before we get into the argumentative nature of this topic, we'll look at a self explanatory exercise wherein I'm going to tell you a little bit about activities, something that has been taught either in religion or as part of education, and we're going to look at whether these are dead ends or a new beginning. The first is when you cannot cut your nails at night. That's a dead end. Factors that led to the rise of Mussolini in Italy is a new beginning because then you realize what's right and what's wrong and can be learned and incorporated into what you do in the future. Climate in India follows a pattern and varies geographically, can be considered to be a new beginning because there are a lot of implications and a lot of further applications of this knowledge. Putting a small spot of kajal on a baby takes care of buri nazar is something that's a dead end. And finally, all the financial management courses in an MBA college, personally because it's financial management, I'm going to call it a dead end. Moving on to something a little more serious, of course, would be when when there's a rise in petrol prices, when the stock market crashes, when Turkey goes to war, when Assam has detention camps, and when the polar bears descend further south. It's education that enables you to ask why all of these activities happen. It's education that enables you to find out the reason and prevent it in the future if it's a wrong activity. The difference between education and religion, as popularly communicated, are as follows. When education enables you to investigate, it encourages you to think. It is the trampoline that enables you to jump higher. And education asks you to dig deep and aim high. In terms of history, education prevents you from making mistakes in the past. In terms of science, education enables you to learn from the discoveries of the past. Overall, education gives you the ability to have a better future. And the popular opinion that religion, on the other hand, gives us a constraining set of hard coded rules for us to follow and never question, which seems like a pretty slam dunk case. But then we have the question, why is religion so popular? And there are four major factors for it. The first is because religion gives people hope. When all else fails, when you have not studied for your examination, you're sitting there with a paper in your hand, we've all looked up to the skies asking for a miracle. The second is because religion gives people a set of guidelines to follow. In the right spirit, it actually helps to prevent anarchy. The third reason is religion gives people an identity, it enables an empathy for a sizable proportion of the population, those that have the same ideas. It gives a sense of belonging to these people. And fourth, because religion overall promotes good values. Most of the rules across religious lines, across countries as well, are guided more by values rather than anything else. They promote the good over evil at all times. And thereafter, we come to another aspect in education, another perspective in education as well, when we can consider the fact that education has a dogmatic aspect. History textbooks these days are being rewritten, and the children studying it are expected to memorize these facts without questioning it. The wrong part here is that these facts may be wrong. Even the history textbooks, and this is a very great example that the same freedom struggle is considered to be different in the history textbooks of India and Pakistan. They both give contradictory versions of the same freedom struggle. And that's when propaganda comes in, wherein you can have the propaganda against various ideologies that may be generated using these fake facts in education. One minor constricting aspect is that there are always those rules that have to be followed in terms of education. You're going to have a deadline at 23:59 hours, you're going to have those limited submission with those word limits. And other than that, there's another aspect of restriction which comes to the syllabus. especially in India, wherein technical education is often outdated but fixed by higher authorities. You want to study something updated, you cannot do it in colleges in India. Another limitation, another extension of the last 2 points is if I want to take an elective here, even in my college that I am Kozhikode, I won't be able to do it unless 15 other students opt for it. That's the rule mandated by the office, and that's another restrictive aspect of education. As such, we move on to the concluding remarks. When you say that both religion and education have certain common points, the most important factor is the takeaway, the idea behind what they say, the moral of the story is what matters. If you use religion as an absolute text with no changes incorporated over time, then you will end up being like the Crusades, you will end up joining the ISIS because you will end up waging holy wars across religious lines because that was what was prevalent at those times. Education too is not above all this. If you consider the education around the time when religious texts were written and you take those literally, you will be taught to be sexist and homophobic because that's what education at that time was as well. As such, the key to both education and religion is to learn the idea behind the thoughts. Religion gives people an identity, it prevents anarchy, while education can provide a trampoline to reach for the stars. As such, in terms of both religion and education, the onus lies on the teachers. Religion is susceptible to incorrect interpretations, and education is susceptible to factual manipulations. And as such, it is the responsible teacher who can make a difference. Maybe Abdul Kalam, the former president of India, when he said, "Teaching is a very noble profession that shapes the character, caliber, and future of an individual. If the people remember me as a good teacher, that will be the biggest honor for me." Maybe this was something that he was also referring to. And with this statement, conclude my presentation. Thank you.